Not the sports news on omniaudio.africa with Romy Titus and Kevin McCollum.
And CS du Plessis, how would we describe you, CS? A journalist, presenter, everything?
Brother, pledge your allegiance.
I would say combat sports enthusiast.
And you're there you're obviously there for the fight. What's it been like this last week?
It's been fascinating. You know, the UFC has this well-oiled machine that rolls into town. As a journalist, you know exactly when your slot is, when the media engagements are, when the weigh-ins are, the workouts. It's a really slick operation. And this week has been hot in Sydney. It's been dominated by Sean Strickland, who's tried to own the microphone whenever he could.
Yeah.
While Dricus du Plessis has been quite composed and a consummate professional. Apart from his controversial shirt that he wore on the media day, it's been pretty quiet from Dricus.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to ask you about that. The calmness that we see from him at press conferences is obviously in stark correlation against what he does in the ring. I mean, is he that sort of person? You've interviewed him before. Is that the sort of person normally?
Yeah, he's excitable, I can tell you that. But he's also one of those guys that, you know, when he gets to his gym, he likes to set the standard. He likes to be the guy that turns on the music and said, guys, we're going extra rounds. You know, he pushes the limit and sets the standard. He's the team captain of Team CIT in Pretoria. And when you meet him in person, he makes time for everyone. He is a wonderful ambassador for South Africa. When it comes to taking photos with fans who don't even like him, he'll take photos with them. So he engages with everyone, makes time for everyone. And, you know, despite at times what the public sees, he is a great human being who's a great ambassador for the sport and for our country.
Mindset, though, I mean, is very important ahead of a fight, CS. So, I mean, just mentally, I guess you got to get ready there too. You got to fight mentally too. How would you say CS Dricus gets ready, you know, before he steps into that ring?
Romy, these guys are really operating at a high level now. You know, this is his 9th fight in the UFC. He's been fighting in MMA since he was 19 years old when he made his debut in the EFC. He's a former Waco, you know, kickboxing world champion. So he's been used to performing at a high level. And when he gets into the zone, you know, it's a really composed environment. His coach, Morne Visser, is a veteran of kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and, you know, MMA. And what they do is they'll start their weight cut early. They get into the country they're fighting in early. You know, it's a real professional setup. And, you know, I think he likes to keep busy. You know, we've seen him interacting with a lot of the media. He's a lot of fans who are here in Sydney. He's made time for, as well as his sponsors. So I think he likes the distractions, but when it's time for business, he's dialed in.
So one of their sponsors is Betway, and they have him as favourites to win at 1.51. Sean Strickland 2.6. Would you agree with those odds? Do you think he's favourite?
Absolutely. I think at this point, in the form that he's been on and the incredible athletes that he's put away, including one of the greatest of all time in Israel Adesanya in Perth in August last year, he has to be favourite. Sean Strickland has spoken a lot. He's a very dangerous customer. But in terms of the betting odds, even here in Australia, we asked a few bookies what they had and looked at a few sort of odds. Dricus, 95% of the wagers have gone for Dricus. So he is overwhelming favourite.
Well, that's great. The other bet I can take is about whether this will go the distance like the last one did. And Strickland's fights tend to go the distance because he tries to box them out. Do you think it'll go the distance or will it end a bit early?
Sean Strickland has said he's prepared to go all 5 rounds and do 25 minutes of war. Dricus yesterday said he wants to knock Strickland out.
Ooh.
So I think in terms of going the distance, I'm not too sure. I have a feeling it'd probably go 3 rounds, maybe into a 4th. But the approach is going to be different. The feeling out period, Dricus took 3 rounds to do that in Toronto against Strickland. This will be different. I think Dricus will try and impose himself. He won't allow Strickland to utilize his jab as much as he did. And I think we will see a lot more aggressive Dricus du Plessis looking to use his grappling to negate anything Strickland throws at him. So to go the distance, I'm not too sure. You never know in this game, but I doubt it. I think we'll see 3 rounds and Dricus will prevail.
Yeah, what's Strickland got a lot of support in Sydney because Dricus got booed at that press conference, which seemed like a fun press conference, by the way. It was brilliant.
It's always an action-packed one with Sean Strickland, that's for sure. He's not exactly the most PC person. I think he goes out to annoy people and be brash and be controversial. But in general, I think fans are undecided here. I think despite what the betting odds say, a lot of fans that we spoke to yesterday when the press conference was concluded were all Strickland. There was very little Du Plessis, guys. I would say probably a 60-40 split in favor of Strickland. So that's what the fans are saying. They obviously like Strickland because he reminds them of obviously a Crocodile Dundee or something. I'm not sure exactly. But there is this moustache. There's a connection. Strickland won his belt here in Sydney at this very arena. So it's a happy hunting ground. So he is well liked here. I think Dricus has got more and more fans over the years. But I still think in terms of the fans themselves, they're probably looking at Strickland as their man to take the title.
Really? Would you say that the fan base isn't really pro or for Dricus as yet? I think there's so many South Africans in Australia that for me it's almost like, home away from home.
Well, Perth was like that. It was all South Africans there. I mean, I just remember that week with the Springboks playing on the Saturday and Dricus fighting on the Sunday. It just was this like swell of South Africans who descended on Perth. Suddenly all the Springbok jerseys were popping up left, right, and centre. I was there from the Monday, and we just saw this gradual increase of South Africans. And funny enough, I mean, I landed in Sydney on Monday, and the first thing I heard was Afrikaans. So there's a huge South African contingent in Australia. However, the fans that we've dealt with, the MMA fans, there's a lot of them backing Strickland.
So what was Strickland calling Dricus a Dutchman? I mean, where does that come from? I mean, God, it's a bit of a shock.
And look, Strickland, he likes to shock people. He's referring back to basically when the Dutch landed in South Africa and were part of the colonization. So he's going way back, and he's trying to make Dutchman stick. For Dricus, he thinks it's the coolest nickname ever, and that's why he's been banging that drum the whole time.
Yeah, lots of talk from Strickland about wanting more points for punches, but MMA is a sport of many factors and many skills. Is he just trying to influence the judges, do you think?
The saying is never leave it to the judges, and I think Sean Strickland found out the hard way in Toronto. Dricus disagrees, obviously, and I must say I still think he won 3 rounds to 2 that Strickland won. But at this point in time, I think you've got to go out, you've got to go and try and finish. But it is a championship match. It's a fight for the belt, and you have to be prepared to go into dark places. And if that's 1 round, 2 rounds, or 5 rounds, you've got to make sure you're on top of the score sheets. And yes, you've got to try and influence the judges, but there are a whole set of rules that they abide by, and hopefully, at the end of the day, it doesn't need the judges on Sunday.
Yeah. Do you think who's going to be walking out with Dricus? Because he had he had Kolisi and Eben Etzebeth the last time. Has he got any special people coming out with him this time, or is it a bit more low key?
No, it's a bit more low key, but he did tell me that Nkosi Sikeleli will be playing as he comes out.
Good man.
And he will be belting that. And then, of course, his famous song that he has, Airborne, that he always plays and gets them all hyped up. I mean, they have a story in his gym where it's not allowed to be on any of the playlists because he just goes absolutely moggy when he hears his fight song. So they try and avoid that. But I don't think we will have any Springboks here. I know that it might be some of his close friends and family that walk out with him, but I don't anticipate that we will see Sia or Eben here. I mean, that was just incredible in Perth.
Yeah, it was.
When I was backstage watching him come out, it was just like, oh my goodness.
Goosebumpy.
Sia and Eben, it's insane. It was insane. But I do think he's going to still have a pretty emotional walkout. He says when he hears his national anthem, it's the proudest moment of his career. So pretty exciting stuff.
CS, you have to come clean though, because I mean, Dricus du Plessis, CS du Plessis.
You can throw in Faf du Plessis there if you want. The list goes on. The list goes on. I've just obviously followed Dricus' career since day one. I commentated on his first ever fight in the EFC. So we have a relationship. I've obviously been close to his brothers and his coach. So yeah, we're all linked in some way, but at the end of the day, we're definitely not related. I suppose we're only related through the sport.
Yeah. What makes? Just a couple more questions. What makes Dricus special? I mean, Strickland says he fights like an effing animal, but I mean, what else makes him special as a MMA fighter?
He doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to ever relinquish anything. He will always go out and do his ultimate best to stop his opponent. He prepares incredibly well. He's got a gas tank like no other. And I think he has this elusive timing when he strikes. And when you get hit by Dricus, you know you've been hit by Dricus. And I think it surprises a lot of people. So I think that plays a part. But he is just a student of the game. He's incredibly dedicated to sport. And it means a lot to him to set the example for other fighters. I mean, he's got fighters from all over Africa in his gym. There's guys from Zambia, Angola, all over there in his gym. So they're looking at him to lead the way, and I think he's doing just that.
That's perfect. CS, thank you so much for coming on the line.
Yeah, and from all of us here, I mean, please, if you can, whisper to Dricus that we say Omni Audio Africa supports him all the way.
Cool.
I'm going to see him now, so I'll definitely pass on the message.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Great. It was CS du Plessis, and I've known him for years. Great journalist, and the fact that he actually watched Dricus' first fight, I mean, that's amazing.
It is. I've got goosebumps actually just thinking about it. But the national anthem is when it is that you serve your country at any level, and that anthem plays. I think that's when it becomes real of like what you're about to do and where you are and who you represent. So for me, that is always something that is. Come on, help me with the words.
Real. Almost. Real lekker,
Thank
man.
you,
Lekker.
thank you.
But weekend and a half coming up, monster weekend. And sold out. I mean, Liam Del Carmen's writing in Times Live this morning, the rugby between the Bulls and the Stormers.
Sold out.
55,000 people.
Wowzers.
So Loftus sold out for Sundowns Pirates.
Pirates, correct.
So what's that? That sold another 50,000 people.
Bullring.
30,000 people.
Sold out.
And then we got at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning, if you haven't had enough sport, by the way.
The Puppy Bowl.
No, the Puppy Bowl. But also you got the Dricus at 5 o'clock. So
time. Right.
But the Puppy Bowl, I don't know, we haven't got Discovery in this country, so we can't watch it. I'm trying to find a
I'm sure we could find it somewhere, somehow. We will, because we have to give the results on Puppy Bowl. Oh, I love this song. Have a messy weekend.
And I'm too perfect, so I open my mouth. I want to be me.
Live and on demand. This is not the sports news. Available on